After spending countless hours finding upcoming Metroidvania games for my previous videos, it was really nice to actually get the chance to try out a new one. And Blade Chimera is undoubtedly the first real decent Metroidvania project releasing this year. And to be honest, there's a lot to like about it, and other stuff that I think is not quite as good. Let's get into it. Blade Chimera is a pretty familiar Metroidvania game where you play as Shin, who is this sort of mysterious, rebellious demon hunter working for a really religious-based organization that is hellbent on killing demons. We're talking shoot any demon on sight, whether you have proof or not, and then ask questions later. The problem here is that Shin becomes intertwined with Lux, a shape-shifting demon that becomes your problem-solving companion and source of really cool magic abilities. Working alongside Lux and a few other friends, Shin plays through missions starting from the simple, taking out these titanic huge demon bosses, moving into a cyberpunk conspiracy-style storyline that actually becomes quite interesting to see how everything unfolds. Shin has an array of weapons and abilities to use, and the combat is pretty straightforward. A ranged gun is combined with melee weapons, and then the earlier mentioned demon companion Lux form the way that you deal damage and clear rooms. The system links together quite well, with ranged and basic attacks filling your magic bar, whilst Lux's magic abilities give you back small amounts of health. For the most part, the combat is easy, and upon leveling up, you get the chance to play around with a skill tree style system, which gives you access to things like slides, special attacks, and more. There are some very impressive boss fights to play through, ranging from the quite simple to the pretty darn tricky, and the pixel art and atmosphere of the game is of a high quality and very enjoyable to play through. You do collect currency as you defeat enemies, and this can be spent on buying more impressive weapons and items that give back you some health or magic points. Pretty standard stuff. Shin controls okay, with an auto lock for shooting and attacks, which makes fighting easy, a roll that allows you to dodge through and feels quite good, only occasionally going in the wrong direction but nothing to complain about, although I did find the jumping to be somewhat more problematic, feeling a little bit clunky, with inputs sometimes not registering properly, especially when close to a ledge, and falling to the bottom of an area can be a pain, especially when you accidentally roll out a room or fall out a room and then have to redo all the enemies again. Beyond the storyline, I really enjoyed the way in which Lux is used in a puzzle sense, giving you the ability to throw Lux into a wall, move through an obstacle, and then recall to avoid damage. Lux uses her demon ability to make items reappear, which allows you to platform or move items onto buttons to open up new areas. Sometimes this can feel a bit gimmicky, although in certain areas it is really well done. You will utilize Lux's wall jump ability a lot, which works by you jumping and pressing your magic ability button and then landing on top of the sword. Sometimes this didn't register well for me, which can be a little bit of a pain. Blade Chimera is by no means an exploration Metroidvania, and I can see some fans of the genre finding the pathing a little bit too easy on the simple side. In many occasions, you are given an icon of where to go, and the map's ability that allows you to walk to pretty much any square on the grid means that there is really not much of a need for backtracking or going in search of new locations. There are a couple of hidden areas with nice little bonuses to try and get to, bit of extra HP, that kind of thing, but for the most part in this game, you are going to go where they tell you to, and it's pretty easy to know what to do. I usually feel lost when playing a lot of Metroidvania games, even for a little bit, but in this one that hasn't occurred at all. I feel like that's going to be one of the big criticisms of this game. It's quite easy in most parts. There were a couple of boss fights that took a few turns, but most of the hard enemies are nullified by Lux's ability to block projectiles, and given that you have a gun, blocking all damage and then shooting is pretty effective. There are many rooms where you can run and gun, and in a way, it often took me by surprise when something was a little bit more challenging. Now, I enjoy direct games that get me through the story, and I like this story, but for those who want to feel a bit lost or like they need to be mechanically good to beat areas, this is going to miss the mark for sure. The enemies that you do run into look nice and have some interesting little attack patterns, but they do feel quite random, and as I said before, can be nullified by one or two of the different abilities that you get from Lux. Often they feel like they're just giving you a bit of something to attack to make the game go a bit longer to get through the room, and regular save points avoid any huge missteps or rage moments. Now, this is feeling a bit negative, but what Blade Chimera ends up serving is a really solid offering with a lot of good. The storyline is really fun, and there are side quests for players who want to be drawn in a little bit more. There's memories that you unlock and can replay, which is a nice touch, and you can't deny it's a lovely looking game with a very cool movement. For me, it sits in that 7 or 8 out of 10 sort of game. One that I doubt you would regret playing, but at times just wish there was a little bit more complexity or combat to be engrossed with. I do like the fact you can get through the game in less than 10 hours. I'm not someone who's impressed by a 30 or 40 hour long Metroidvania game, so that was a plus. If you watched this far, consider subscribing and leaving a comment about Blade Chimera. YouTube likes that kind of interaction, and it means my videos get shown just a little bit more. Thanks for watching.